Ferrari has taken a step forward in Formula One in an attempt to open a new development path. By now, it is well known, considering that the main figures have spoken about it extensively. Technical director Loic Serra suggested this move, which, however, at least in the Bahrain preseason testing session, did not deliver the expected results. Some believe that Ferrari masked its performance, while others think the problems encountered are real. As far as we are concerned, without speculating, it is definitely wiser to comment over the first race weekend. The wait is now over, considering that in just a few hours, Formula One cars will take their first official steps in the Australian weekend at the 5.278-kilometre Albert Park Grand Prix circuit in Melbourne. In the meantime, it is worth spending a few words on a technical level about an interesting solution. The current regulatory framework is now in its fourth season. The secrets and guidelines for making the car efficient have largely been assimilated. With the SF-25 single-seater, the Ferrari engineers and technicians have created a groundbreaking car that could provide more surprises than we can imagine. Examining the central part of the car, it is at the very least curious to note how the current Prancing Horse car has revived, after 2 full seasons, a concept related to the shapes seen on the well-performing Ferrari F1-75. It must be said for accuracy's sake that the aerodynamics department, led by the excellent Italian engineer Diego Tondi, has reinterpreted the solution to fit the ideas into the car's current design philosophy. An approach that, over the last 2 seasons, has followed Red Bull's trend, much like the rest of the grid. We are talking about the so-called bathtubs, which were much more evident on the car that competed in the 2022 Formula One Championship, with excellent results in the first part of the season. The channeling in question is less pronounced on the Ferrari SF-25, but the aerodynamic impact on downforce is quite similar. This technical revival features a recess carved into the upper surface of the sidepod, which serves in a way to contain the fluid mass flowing over the top. This more distinctly marks the difference between the airflow passing over and along the sides. However, in reality, this solution is designed to preserve the air on the lateral portion. We say this because the bathtubs, according to information gathered and reported by various news media outlets, stem from the need to accumulate various aerodynamic losses. By losses, we mean low-energy airflow. It is no coincidence that Ferrari's hot air outlets are positioned precisely in this area. Furthermore, by default, the cockpit significantly disrupts the downstream airflow. Ultimately, in the compromise studied for the Ferrari, the lateral airflow experiences reduced attraction toward the upper surface. Making an aerodynamic concept effective is never easy in Formula One, especially when making significant changes, such as modifying the front suspension purely for aerodynamic purposes. Ferrari has worked hard to rebuild the structure of the fluid mass, and although some early issues clearly emerged during pre-season testing at the Scuderia circuit, the Maranello team believes it has resolved most of the inconsistencies that made the 3 days of testing in the Middle East quite complicated. We know that the Italian side did not pay any attention to lap times. Another aspect concerns the 06615 power unit, which was never pushed to the limit by Ferrari's drivers. We are particularly curious about this, because although little has been said about it, the efficiency of the Italian engine has made a small step forward, which, over the course of a Grand Prix, could provide benefits that make a real difference. Melbourne is a very particular track, a layout where Ferrari has always performed above expectations. The aerodynamic platform of the SF-25 has undergone specific evaluations in recent days, and, according to simulator data, the Maranello team appears to have found the right setup to unlock part of the performance that remained unexpressed during testing. The moment is near. 3 days in which the work will not stop, because every minute is precious in pursuit of the primary goal, to offer the best version of itself and aim for a clear result, the race victory. The Australian Grand Prix will now provide some first answers to the unresolved questions from the Bahrain pre-season testing session, especially those concerning the top teams. For McLaren, all eyes are on the remaining margins of a car widely regarded as the favorite, while the heat will put the new Mercedes to the test. Melbourne will also offer valuable insights into Ferrari's initial setup difficulties, in an examination similar to the one Red Bull will undergo. The paddock unanimously considers the reigning champions as favorites for the season opener. The question is how much of its potential the MCL39 has already shown and what room for improvement remains. This question is twofold. concerning both the aggressiveness of engine mappings, fuel loads, and setups used in testing, as well as the overall development curve of the project. McLaren has appeared more ready than its competitors, with a solid setup foundation. Further gains could come from updates, which team principal Andrea Stella has promised to introduce in the early races of the 2025 Formula One season, possibly as soon as the third round. The MCL-39 is an extreme car in many respects, raising questions about whether its bold design choices might lead to reliability issues and other complications. The front suspension, for example, has raised concerns among rivals, including Red Bull's Pierre Wache, and will need to prove that it does not overly limit agility over curbs or compromise balance adjustments. Attention at the Albert Park circuit in Melbourne will also be on the rear of the new car, as some instability observed in Bahrain has led to questions about whether it was an isolated incident or a fundamental trait that could worsen in the Australian heat. Many rank the Maranello team as the third or fourth strongest team, a prediction that clashes with the optimism and confidence seen in Ferrari's camp in the last few days. Technical director Loic Serra has stated that the testing period confirmed a match between the data and simulation predictions, with the SF-25 single-seater also responding as expected to setup trials. After all, pre-season testing is primarily meant to conduct experiments that help refine simulation models, which in turn are used to perfect the car's setup. The Australian Grand Prix weekend will provide the first real answers regarding the balance issues seen in Bahrain, with the hope that they were just early-stage flaws in a still-maturing project. The car's front-end precision will be an asset in Albert Park's quick direction changes, but the SF-25 must also ensure greater stability when getting back on the throttle. Finally, all eyes will be on Lewis Hamilton, eager to gauge how close he is to the limits of the Ferrari, especially under braking. For Mercedes, one of the main objectives of the 2025 Formula One project was to achieve greater rear-end stability and address the chronic overheating of the rear tires, which often ran at imbalanced temperatures compared to the fronts. The Australian circuit will be less demanding on the rear axle than Bahrain, but the hot weather will provide a serious test for the W16. Forecasts predict temperatures exceeding 30 degrees Celsius, compared to barely 20 degrees Celsius during testing, giving the Silver Arrows a valuable proving ground. Finding a wider operating window would guarantee greater performance consistency throughout the season, a key factor that could make the difference between occasional podium finishes and a genuine title challenge. Another crucial test will be in slow, consecutive corners, a major weakness of last year's car. In Melbourne, attention will be on turns 3, 4, as well as the winding final sector of the track. During testing, Red Bull noted progress with the RB21 compared to its predecessor, though still not enough, according to Max Verstappen. The 2025 Formula One car continues to struggle over curbs and exhibits unpredictable handling, with sudden balance shifts from one corner to the next and even within the same turn at times. Albert Park presents an interesting mix of high, medium, and low-speed corners, making it a meaningful test for balance. The rain expected on Sunday could be a great ally for Max Verstappen, potentially masking the car's weaknesses, which is why the difficulty of their build-up to qualifying will be an even more telling factor.